Chapter 6. The Land of Plenty. D. Many miles from the king's caravan, in the heart of the capital, Dorian Stormcrest surveyed the room, his gaze lingering on each participant in the covert meeting. Among them were figures of notable influence, 4 banner generals, including himself, and representatives from 3 noble houses. Their presence here, a breeding ground for power plays and scheming, did not sit well with him. His sense of duty had led him to this cramped room inside an inn, in a part of the city none of the attendings would choose under normal circumstances. Despite his discomfort at being in this secret meeting that would undermine the crown's authority, Dorian was convinced of its necessity. The young Whitmore king, too inexperienced with the ongoing war, was a scribe, not a warrior. He treated the battlefield like a mere extension of his childhood games. This naivety could spell disaster for the entire continent. Dorian knew war was a harsh reality, not a game on a board, and the stakes were far too high. The room fell into a respectful silence as a regally dressed woman with raven black hair and a green silken dress entered, parading with the grace of royalty. Lady Olivia, the current heir to the high seat of House Keenwood, scanned the assembly with a skeptical gaze. Dorian felt a tinge of annoyance at her suspicion.
After all the secrecy and the pledges, does she still doubt our loyalty?
He knew she dreamed of sitting on the throne herself, but Dorian doubted she would do much better job than that boy Ghalen was doing, even if she was a suitable age and had seen real battle. But this coup was not to set the kingdom into a new civil war in the middle of a battle for survival. Olivia had planned to lead a diplomatic rebellion to place Galen's cousin on the throne, a man who had the right name and all the qualities they would need in a leader for the ongoing war. Surely she would attempt to gain more influence after winning the wars, but Dorian didn't worry. He would make sure their country had a strong leader to ensure survival, and if they would have his head for treason because of it, so be it. A messenger from Banner General Kane has reached me. The Whitmore boys' plan to split the enemy forces worked, and he regrettably survived the endeavor. Olivia's finger tapped impatiently at the table. Dorian was shocked.
Did that mad plan actually work?
Still, he couldn't help but to feel a pang of disappointment. If the king had just died on his own during this foolish errand, all of their problems would have solved themselves. It would have left him without the burden of committing treason. He straightened his posture and suppressed the feeling. The idea was selfish, and his father had taught him selfishness was a road to ruin. Olivia glanced around the table, her chin held high. They should return to the capital in a few days. I would like you all to have gathered your banners and marched for Quarry Mill by that time. Then came the patriotic talk of the South, which had become a hallmark of all the meetings. She emphasized how they had been suppressed by the capital, how leadership should rightfully have been given to the South, or at least they should have been allowed to self-govern. Even though Dorian shared some of these sentiments, he was confused as to how spreading them would help the relations when they were planning to put another northern king on the throne. That will be all, Olivia said as she rose, and 2 guards escorted her out of the building. Heading down the hallway, Dorian muttered under his breath.
She looks down at us like we're a pack of strays.
What was that? General Harkeem asked from behind.
Nothing. Just muttering about the chill. Never mind my ramblings.
Dorian knew Harkeem to be an honorable man, yet in this den of traitors, he trusted no one. Don't you think one of the crown spies might suspect a conspiracy, seeing this many southern nobles gathered in such a place? Harkeem asked.
I think that might be her plan,
Dorian said, buttoning up his coat.
At least to get some rumors going among the people. Cedric already has their favor. If they get behind us, it will make things that much easier.
Harkeem sighed. Rumors and scheming. Give me a battlefield and 1,000 armed men. That makes sense. But this... He trailed off.
I hear you,
Dorian said, stepping out onto the streets. The cold hit him first, then the stench. Cobbled houses lined the narrow streets, and a steady stream of people passed. There was good reason why these nobles would never be in such squalor under noble circumstances. This poor part of the city was filthy and uninviting, even during peaceful times. Now, the overflowing with refugees, it was a nightmare. He didn't make it 10 paces down the road before the first beggar was at his feet, a sickly fellow who likely wouldn't survive until summer.
"Spare a copper,"
the gaunt man rasped, shivering in the cold. Dorian's guard shoved the man away with a disdainful grunt. Even from here, Dorian could see the imposing tower of Lumar looming in the distance.
"Is this the life your loyal subjects can expect if they follow your faith?"
L. The memories came in jagged pieces now, fragments of a life that felt both foreign and intimately hers. Lily pressed her palms against her temples, trying to hold together a mind that seemed determined to split apart. She rubbed her hands together for warmth as a night's chill met the morning sun, covering the land in low, clinging fog. The wind blew hard, yet always seemed to shift, keeping a steady tailwind at their backs. It struck her as strange how the wind always turned in their favor, but when she glanced around, no one else seemed to notice. She edged closer to Pior in the wagon and whispered, "Is it always like this? The wind, I mean. It feels like it's pushing us forward." Pior chuckled, scratching the back of his neck.
"Aye, the wind's alive. My people call it the spirit of Ilskar. Same as Aronia has its mountain spirit, and Keld the ocean. Each with their own ways and tempers."
He paused, eyes on the shifting sky.
"Some folk think it's just old tales,"
he added, glancing briefly at Ghalen.
"but they follow their laws all the same. Wrong the spirits and suffer their wrath."
He laughed.
"Old Nan taught me there's more to it. The wind's too clever by half to be just wind."
Lily said nothing. She was not sure how one wronged the wind, but it was not the first time she had been told that she did not understand. Fina scooted closer to Lily. They had not spoken since Lily had recounted her vision from the gate the night before. If vision was even the right word for memories that felt like shards of glass cutting through her consciousness. "Any new memories?" Fina asked. Lily's head throbbed. The fragments were always there now, a constant background noise of violence and betrayal, of that black-robed figure which made it hard to focus on the present moment. "Nothing new," she managed. "Anything from your time with the Elgaric?" "No," Lily lied. Whether that vision of her helping with the massacre of the Iranian troops had been, she did not think it was wise to share it. Fina's mouth tightened into a thin line. "I can tell when you are lying to me, Lily." Lily swallowed. "I swear, I remember nothing that will help us. It is all pain," she said, trying to push away the vivid images of death that lingered in her mind. They parted ways with a large group of bannermen at the crossroads, where the road continued toward the capital of Ilskar, Windreach, Pior called it.
"If times were peaceful, the city would be something to see right now. Spring feast's coming, and folks from the villages would be flocking here."
Pior looked longingly down the road the departing soldiers were riding, but the king rode down the other path, leading to the gates of the border. Only 2 banners remained with them. Kane's Summerwind banner and Lyssandra's Riverbend colors flying above the soldiers who were left. The others had been native to Ilskar and were allowed to visit their homes until the army called upon them again. The wind seemed to calm itself as they got closer to the tall wooden walls. The border gate was an impressive build stretching along the border, yet after seeing the elven gate, Lily was sure everything else would pale in comparison. Fina spread her arms. "Soon we'll leave Ilskar behind, and this wasteland will be but a memory for you." Pior shot a glance, raising one eyebrow.
"Wastelands?"
Fina rolled her eyes. "Why, of course. One man's hell is another's paradise. Soon, my dear Lily, you'll experience a less windy, less cold, and lusher landscape, where things grow without resistance." She gave Pior a challenging look. He gave a small chuckle and turned back to the road. They crossed into Arania through a wide portcullis, and Pior started talking about the capital, Hyfara. Lily lost focus on the conversation as the shift in climate was surreal. Ilskar's harsh landscape vanished as they passed beneath the imposing wooden walls, marking the boundary between the 2 realms. The sensation was like magic. The lush grass sparkled an emerald green underfoot, and the spring sun showered them with a warmth Lily had not known before. Though she had just minutes before drawn her cloak closer to combat the cold, she was suddenly enveloped in a heat that reminded her of Ilskar's peak midday sun, and there was almost no wind. As the wagon trundled along the winding path, the two sturdy horses at its helm moved with a steady gait. Their hooves kicked up small clouds of dust with each rhythmic step. Lily did not know the first thing about horses, yet she could tell they must be more familiar with this road. They moved with ease, and seldom jerked in what seemed like fear as they had in the windy expanse of Ilskar. She peered over the side of the cart, still amazed at the green landscapes they were passing. Food had been available in plenty as they entered Arania, and she had slept a full night, not waking from the shivering cold or the wind breaking the landscape. Green wilderness transformed into patchwork of farms and charming villages as they drew closer to the capital. The silhouette of great obsidian mountains loomed ever-present, a majestic backdrop to their journey. She felt steady when she fixed her sights on them, a rare feeling for someone who usually carried a deep, constant uncertainty within. There was something about these mountains. She had asked Pyor about them, but he had just gone off on another ramble from his old nan.
Oh, the peaks? That's what makes Aronians such great leaders. The mountains make 'em solid as rock, I dare say.
Ghalen hadn't corrected him during this telling. She asked Haldor, who was usually the most sensible of the bunch, but it seemed he agreed to the superstitions. He did, however, mention the laws Pyor had previously told her about. Pyor mentioned mountain law before. I'm not sure I understand, she had said. Haldor had glanced over.
Anyone who chooses to live under the king's protection must obey the king's laws. But there were laws long before our kingdom, the mountain laws. No Iranian would break these laws. Thief or rebel against the crown, not even during a civil war.
And what happens if you do?
Being cursed by the mountains would mean fate worse than death. You could have no offspring. Your living sons and daughters would die. And any further ones would be stillborn. Any wealth and power of your house would wither away until finally, when there is nothing left of you, you'd fade too. At least, that's what the legends say,
he said solemnly. Lily fixed her eyes on the mountains again. Suddenly, they didn't feel so comforting. Well-maintained roads now bore them quickly forward, leading to inviting homesteads and snug inns where they could rest and restock. Galen's directive had been explicit. His soldiers were to take only the necessities, sparing the already strained farmers and villagers any added grievances. Lily noted the soldiers' altered interactions. No longer was Ghalen addressed casually. Sire, my king, and my liege had taken precedence the closer they got to the city. While others took moments of rest at each stop, Pyor appeared tireless. Whether it was pouring ale, assisting in the kitchen, or lending a hand in the fields, there was no chore beneath the royal guard's stature. Lily did enjoy having a roof overhead for a change, yet, if an inn was crowded, she much preferred staying alone in a room, or she would find Pyor going about some chores as he seldom minded telling a story or two whilst working. One evening, she found Pyor washing dishes after the group's meal. She approached. Aren't you tired like the rest of us?
Lily,
Pyor said, looking up, pressing his knuckles into his lower back with a grunt.
my father used to tell me something, and now I say it to my girl. The strong must protect the weak. If you're lucky, help those who aren't. That's why we're here.
His words struck something within her. She picked up a pot, joining him in his task. As they got closer to the capital, every village, enclave, and field they passed showed more signs of rural life, and as they reached the top of the sweeping hill, the grand door of the city presented itself. Majestic stone walls, combined with towering wooden bastions, flying banners decorated with the 3 peak symbols, embrace a bustling metropolis. Sun-kissed cobblestone avenues filled with traders. Beyond the protective walls, the green plains played host to small villages in the distance.
There she is. The city of stone. Home.
Haldor exclaimed. Lily was entranced by the majesty of the city, only to realize Pyre was talking to her, and she asked him to repeat himself.
Oh, I thought you were just curious about the tents. Was that not what you were staring at?
Out of her initial shock, she noticed them. They stood out amongst the rest, Dotting the expansive plains were numerous clusters of tents, makeshift villages in their own right. Their presence contrasted against the backdrop of the city. Pyre went on.
Those are camps housing the refugees from the war. They fled from the front lines, and many have searched for the safety of the city. In return, they've brought their unique crafts and traditions.
A towering stone monument dominated the city's pulsing heart, joined with a large stone monastery. Fina's eyes sparkled as she gestured. "Look, Lily! The Tower of Lumar!" Her enthusiasm was contagious, and even from a distance, its majesty was evident. Catching Lily's eye, Ghalen advised,
Before we enter the city, it might be wise to keep your hood drawn. Gwylir half-elves do visit the city, but your appearance might cause a stir.
She nodded and draped her cloak snugly around her. Many had gathered around the entrance of the city. A large wooden gate with steel bars was wide open to welcome them. People crowded inside and outside it. They greeted the now small company returning. Some were joyous, seeing loved ones they had feared dead, and others were visibly heartbroken as their fears became reality. The tone was somber, yet everyone in the crowd greeted the king with respect, bowing their heads as the party passed, tossing flowers before the horses. Lily looked back and forth, taking in the view of the city. Tall buildings of wood and stone, people of all shapes and sizes. So many of them had traveled here from all over the world. She felt dizzy, trying to see where they all went in the commotion. Slowly, they made their way deeper into the city's heart. Neatly ordered guards were waiting for them, and like clockwork, Ghalen dismounted. His horse was taken away, and he talked with Pyre and Haldor. They saluted, and Ghalen went off without them. The new guards around him like a protective barrier. In what seemed like seconds he was gone, and so was a crowd. While there were still people beyond count as far as Lily could see, they had no interest in her party. Pyre came up to her with his regular warm smile.
Ghalen left you under our protection while he's off performing his duties.
Fina had managed to dismount and somehow stable her horse in the commotion and was back with her as well. Awfully dull duties at that. You are much better off with us, I assure you. Her grin was teasing. She is an expert at smiling, that one. I'm sure she could have an entire conversation without a word, Lily thought. She eyed Haldor with a puzzling face. I thought you were the King's Guard. Is it really okay for you to leave Ghalen? He looked back at her with a blank expression.
Pyre and I are his honor guard. Ghalen never leaves these walls without us. But there are more Kingsguard than just us. We have been given leave.
Their next stop would be the Temple of Lumar, where Pyre had a special meeting planned. He was eager for Lily to meet his daughter, but first they needed to leave the horses and the wagon. It felt bittersweet leaving the thing. It had started as a prison cell, and it had given her aches in both her legs, back and bottom. Counting the splinters it had given her would be impossible, but it felt like part of her. Dismounting the carriage and patting the horses, they handed the reins to the royal stable attendants. A young stable boy, his eyes wide with reverence upon recognizing Pyre and Haldor, offered a bow so deep Lily half expected him to tumble forward. An honor to serve the King's Guard. A true honor. His voice quivered with awe. Lily studied the boy's bow. She thought she might have to ask some more about their titles and how to use the correct honorifics later. The rush of the city hit her as she stepped into the cobbled streets. Carts laden with the goods trundled by. Errand boys darted about, occasionally causing minor collisions, and guards patrolled with watchful eyes. The closely packed stone buildings and overlapped thatched roofs gave a claustrophobic feel to the streets. Pulling ahead of Pyre and Haldor, she reached out, grasping Fina's arm, breathing heavily. I got you, Lily, Fina assured, her voice a soothing balm. We're heading to my tower now. It's a place of calm. I promise, with time, the city won't feel so daunting. Fina's caring smile lit up her face, and the city's cold embrace seemed a tad bit warmer. At a crossing, Haldor excused himself, as he wanted to visit his family to let them know he was okay before any other matters were taken care of. But they all agreed to meet him later at the inn. After passing a few more streets, Lily spotted the temple and almost fell as she traced it from the root to the top spires. Wow. She was impressed by its sheer scale. The monastery stood as a beacon in the urban bustle. It was even more impressive than Pyro's descriptions. Its obsidian walls adorned with ornate carvings, sunlight-bathed tower, reflecting on huge windows. As they neared the grand entrance, Lily noticed 2 youthful girls guarding it. They tensed up upon spotting Fina. They could hardly stop a beggar trying to pass through. They wore far fewer ornaments than the other priests Lily had journeyed with, and much less than the embellishments gracing Fina's robes. The guards pressed their hands to their chest, bowing deeply. "High Priestess Finavera," one stammered. "Forgive us. Had we known of your return, we would have readied the tower." Fina waved dismissively. "There's nothing to forgive. You couldn't have known. To inform the other high seats of my arrival." With a nod, one of the guards hastened into the monastery's depths. Upon entering the large arched doors, all sounds from the city vanished. It was replaced by what sounded like soft hymns and trickles of running water. The temperature was cool here. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, splashing a kaleidoscope of colors onto the smooth stone beneath. Pyre guided Lily through the maze-like corridors, and Fina strode along beside him, pausing occasionally to exchange greetings with fellow priests and novices. Lily noted Fina was greatly revered in this place. Everyone bowed as deeply as the people had for Ghalen, nobody addressing her any less than a high priestess. After some time, they reached the monastery's more private quarters. Fina said she had to convene with the other high seats and bade them a farewell. "Give Thasara my best, Pyre, and tell her I will see her before we set off again." Rounding a corner and opening a wooden door, Pyre revealed a snug, welcoming room. At a table sat a girl about 10, her brown hair, rounded nose, and gray eyes mirroring her father's features, though her skin was a shade darker. She was absorbed in a book, but as soon as she noticed Pyre, her face lit up. "Father!" she cried, leaping from her chair and running to embrace him.
"This is my daughter. Meet Lily, Thasara."
Pyre said, radiating with pride.
"And this, Lily, is my greatest joy, Thasara."
Lily pulled back her hood, and Thasara's eyes widened as she took in Lily's features. Without hesitation, she reached up and gently traced one of Lily's pointed ears with her finger. "Father, your ears are so big," she said with a bluntness only a child could manage. Pyre chuckled.
"Does looking different make someone different inside, little star?"
Thasara considered this for a moment, then shook her head. "Old Nan always said not to judge people by how they look." She beamed up at Lily. "It's nice to meet you. Your ears are actually very pretty." In an instant, Thasara was on her feet, hastily gathering her drawings to show Lily. Her excitement was palpable, likely a mix of joy at her father's return and enthusiasm at meeting someone new. With the effortless agility of a child, she clambered onto Lily's lap, startling her at first, but then Lily burst into laughter. Thasara's boldness and joy were utterly infectious. She held up an ink drawing of a winged figure. "This is the holy angel of Lamar, Tayana. We're learning about her in my faith studies." Despite its modest detail, the passion in the young girl's voice made the sketched figure come alive for Lily. She felt some familiarity with the name of the angel. The girl chatted away. "I'm training to be a healer, like Fina. Then when I grow up, I can help protect Father." Her eyes glowed with determination, mirroring Pyre's fever and commitment, and Lily felt a wave of fondness for this vibrant little girl. After some time of the girl running back and forth, showing trinkets and paintings, she suggested a tour of her classrooms where her teacher, a proud elderly priest, rolled his eyes at her. "Thasara, have you forgotten our first rules?" She gave a sidelong glare. "No, Priest Menhald. Serenity and composure are vital for a priest." The words were said mockingly, but Menhald appeared pleased at her reciting and turned back to his books. She stuck out her tongue, grimacing at him, but when the girl turned back to the other two, Pyre had a stone face of clear disapproval, and she quickly apologized. As they got back to the chambers after what felt to Lily like an eternity of following the girl running around the tower, Pyre tucked Thasara into bed, and, as he planted a goodnight kiss on her forehead, she clung to his neck. "Please, the story of Armstrong and the bear." He laid her down again.
"Next time, Tessa."
Then Lily and Pyre ventured out of the monastery.
Let's meet the others of the Wild Hog.
Pyre proposed, a smile adorning his face. Seeing Lily's quizzical look, he explained,
It's our favorite inn in the city. A bit rowdy at times, sure, but you won't find better food or drink anywhere else.
Gee. Galen's mind wandered as he sat in the council chamber, the voices of gathered bleeding into the background noise.
How long is the journey to the Red Gate? How many leagues was it again? What did the book say?
He scratched his head absently, eyes unfocused as a noble droned on about ration distribution. Somewhere nearby, the words soldier's pay and retirement pensions floated into the haze of his thoughts. Scarcely enough for a family to eat on, let alone live with dignity, someone was saying. And the retired are faring worse, another added, left to beg or labor in the fields if they still have the strength. The Lord Marshal's voice cut through.
Your father, King Pigrin, ensured no soldier went unpaid. He understood what loyalty cost and what it earned. His men followed him not just out of duty, but because he gave them reason to believe in their service.
A noble across the table leaned forward. And his mother, Lady Ironhand, Titan of the West, was always deliberate in her generosity. His tone was carefully chosen. A ranking soldier to his left muttered, cheapskate more like. The noble shot him a disapproving glare, but did not break stride. Still, the truth remains. The royal coffers are bleeding. This long war had stretched us all thin. We cannot keep handing out coin we don't have. There was a pause, eyes turning to Ghalen, waiting. He blinked, realizing the silence was meant for him. With a sigh, he leaned back in his chair.
The war is hitting everyone hard,
He said, voice dull.
The soldiers will have to wait.
The words sat heavy in the room. He shifted in his seat and cleared his throat.
I want the latest reports. What has changed since we departed?
The border with Elgaric from Arania is contained, said one of the high priests, a man with short black hair. Ghalen couldn't recall his name, but he nodded as the man continued. We've burned the surrounding farmland to prevent the spread of the death magic. It's a sad loss for healthy land. As for the border of Ilskar, at the Coryllium Fields, well, you likely have the latest news from there, my king. Ghalen remembered the decay in the fields where they'd fought, soil blackened and tainted, the corruption deepened by the dead who had fallen there.
The taint is contained,
He said, keeping his discomfort from showing.
It hasn't spread beyond the fields.
After that, various commanders and the Lord Marshal Ironwind reported on troop movements and the scrimmages. Nobles chimed in with updates on the political landscape, families voicing dissent and doubts about the crown, along with strategies to ease those tensions. Pyvera, a plump nobleman with measly expression, turned his hat with twitchy fingers. Others had questioned appointing this pitiful-looking man to the court, doubting what he could bring. Yet Ghalen knew he was one of the most adept politicians in the kingdom.
Better to keep the most venomous snakes tame and in sight than worry about them constantly.
And the man had proved his worth time and time again. Ghalen gave Pyvera a stern look.
Out with it, man. We can all see you have something to say.
Pyvera gave a start and stopped turning his hat. He cleared his throat. My liege, I fear that when the scouts had come back to give word of your return... He paused, looking around for support in the room. None came, so he continued. The High Lady Olivia rode south with 4 banners. Ghalen sank in his seat.
Light. Is she trying to incite war as we face extinction? Is she really that mad?
The others exchanged worried glances. She made no formal announcements or claims, but I do fear nothing good can come from their departure, Pyvera added. Ironwind shook his head and muttered.
4 banners? She must have at least 20,000 swords and lances with her. Our defenses are even worse than I thought.
As the debriefing concluded, Galen's cousin, Cedric, who was a robust man in his 50s, with a beard touched by silver, spoke up. The seal of Galen's family was prominently displayed on his attire.
The news of the Southerners is grim, I admit. Still, we must appreciate the small victories we get. Your strategy seems to have borne fruit, Ghalen. Many of us doubted its wisdom, but you've granted us time we hadn't thought possible.
A smile formed on Cedric's lips. but behind his gaze, a shadow of concern lingered.
I take it that Stowe-skulled behemoth was not amongst their forces as you had guessed?
No, the monster was not there, and that was beyond lucky for us. They had 2 dark summoners, each with a death general. The fight was close enough to discomfort without having to face that demon.
Cedric shuddered visibly.
Ugh. When I saw that thing at the Western battles, it felt like looking at my death.
Nellarith exchanged a troubled glance with the Lord Marshal before speaking up.
My king, while your plan has bought us precious moments, my rangers estimate that the primary force will breach our border in less than 2 months. Once they do, they will surely march upon the city.
Ghalen's expression remained unchanged. He had anticipated this. The strategy had never been about defeating the approaching army, but rather diverting them from Arania to Ilskar. The enemy would never attempt to reach the capital through Ilskar, but if they believed Ghalen's whole host marched there, it would buy them valuable time if they took the bait to fight there.
How many will we face?
He asked, his voice heavy.
Around 20 to 30,000 experienced fighters,
Nellarith said.
Add to that another 20,000 fighting beasts,
she added grimly. Ghalen turned to the Marshal.
In 2 months, how many can we muster to the defense?
Ironwind hesitated, his jaw tight.
Barely 20,000, Your Majesty. 5 years of war. It's but us dry. The levies are slow, unwilling. The forges can barely keep up with the demand for arms, and our stores are dwindling. We might scrape together another 5,000 from the city militia, but their hearts aren't in it. They've seen too much.
He paused.
And that's assuming the South doesn't abandon us. If they do, we'll lose nearly half our remaining strength.
He shook his head.
40,000 at best, and that's a generous estimate. We won't be able to hold the walls for long. Besides, with such a harsh draft of able men, we won't have enough supplies for a siege. We cannot hide behind our walls,
Cedric said. A deep frown etched across his face.
I'm afraid you are correct,
the Lord Marshal added. A silence settled in the room. Each person likely sensed the dire situation they faced, yet nobody voiced it inevitable. Their city stood on the brink of collapse.
We will gather every warrior at our disposal. We will not forsake the City of Hope to the fires of conquest, so long as a single defender remains in our kingdom. And I will make it my responsibility to return the Southern Lords, whatever the cost,
Ghalen said. Heads nodded in agreement, but the underlying message was clear. Ghalen had just ordered a noble, if desperate, last stand. But he wasn't finished.
Some of you may have heard tales from those who rode with us from the fields.
Ghalen began.
Tales of an angel who fought by our side. Let me assure you, there's more truth to those stories than one might think.
Cedric raised an eyebrow.
I've heard such stories, but cousin, our men often attribute victories to Lamar's angels. You can't possibly believe these tales, can you?
Ghalen grinned.
While the stories were exaggerated, the essence remains true. We did capture a high elf, once a death general in the enemy's army. Now free, she stands with us.
The assembly erupted with exclamations of surprise.
How can you be sure of her origin? Did she claim to have seen the lands beyond the walls?
The Marshal asked. Ghalen recounted their journey, the elf's exceptional combat skills, her miraculous healing touch that saved him from Death's grasp, and, most convincingly, her ability to bypass a barrier and physically touch the elven gate.
She has no memories, you say?
The half-elf ranger asked, curiosity suddenly piqued.
No, but I believe we might have started unlocking fragments of them. I hope that she will regain them soon. And, hopefully, to repay our kindness, she might enlist her people to our cause.
Ghalen replied. A representative from the church, one of the older high priests, Greywald, tugged at his white beard.
The one who comes, the angel of Lumar, coming to deliver us. You did well to bring her, my king. Are you keeping her safe? One would think an angel to stick out in a crowd.
She is protected, and I've asked those who rode with us to the city not to spread her description. But I hear rumors are already making their rounds of the angel in the streets. I would say she resembles an odd Gwalier elf more than she does any depiction of our angels, so this hearsay will probably not help identify her. Besides, she likes to keep hidden.
I see. Very well. But I do ask you to send her before the high chairs of the tower. We will have much to ask her.
I will make sure Lady Finavera brings her before the chairs, High Priest.
Ghalen nodded toward the old man before continuing.
She was not the only spoil from the battle brought back. I believe this belongs to you, Marshal Ironwind.
He produced the blade with deliberate care, letting the firelight catch the intricate engravings along its length. The golden hilt gleamed, even after all those years buried beneath the dead of Crelam fields. It had lost none of its presence. The marshal's reaction was immediate. His breath hitched, and his eyes widened in stunned recognition.
Durandale,
he whispered, his voice barely a breath before it grew stronger.
Durandale.
He repeated, this time with awe. Ghalen watched as Ironwind reached for the blade, his movement slow and hesitant.
But how, my liege?
Ironwind asked, his fingers closing around the hilt. Ghalen allowed a small smile as he released the blade.
It was always meant to be yours. I regret that it took this long. The sword remained buried with the fallen at Crelam Fields. It seems the Elgarect and their death guard care little for our history.
Ghalen noted the way the marshal's posture shifted, more upright, more resolute, as though the blade itself carried the weight of something greater than just steel.
They have no sense for what was lost.
Ironwind murmured.
But I do.
Ghalen said nothing, but he understood. Some relics were more than just artifacts. Some were anchors to the past and promises for the future. Every Lord Marshal before Ironwind had been given the blade when promoted, and now he finally had it. Ghalen rose from his chair.
We shall stand firm, defending our city to the very end. Abandonment is not an option. However, the civilians should be relocated to the port towns, within Keld's borders. If the worst comes to pass, they can find refuge across the sea. Amid this coming darkness, I have one final gambit in mind. A glimmer of hope I intend to pursue.
The council members rose, each nodding their deference to the king before filing out. Whispers and murmurs accompanied them, the hall buzzing with speculation about the king's latest plans. Would they brand him a madman or a visionary? The dividing lines of allegiance would determine their view. But in the aftermath of the meeting, Ghalen could not afford the luxury of lingering doubts or concerns about gossip. Decisions demanded his immediate attention. The logistics of the journey from the routes of the campsites required his final approval. He had sought out counsel and heard from the experts, and the time had come for their choices. As the chamber emptied, Ghalen called out,
Cedric!
His cousin paused in the doorway. There was a faint stiffness in his stance. Shoulders squared a moment too late, as though adjusting to wear a mask he hadn't planned on.
He is clever. No doubt he already guesses what I'll ask of him.
Ghalen studied Cedric with affection and admiration. Cedric turned, the heavy door clicking shut behind him.
What is it, cousin?
His voice was light, but his eyes watched carefully. Ghalen took a breath, choosing his words with care.
This campaign, this gamble of mine. I've assembled a strong team. Fighters, a ranger who knows the terrain, and even a spiritual guide. If they succeed, we may yet end this war. But we won't hold the capital long enough for that unless the Southern Lords return to the fold. And about that business...
Cedric's jaw worked before he answered, his fist tightening at his side.
You're going south.
I must go personally to treaty with Olivia.
Cedric blinked. His smile was thin and unmoving.
In person? That's bold.
Not what you expected.
Cedric let out a dry chuckle.
You could say that. How will you ever convince the council? They'll expect a Whitmore in the capital. Will they accept me in your place?
Ghalen smiled.
It's fortunate, then, that I sought your counsel before facing them. As for your role, I'd have the council lead in my absence.
For a moment, Cedric's expression faltered. Something unreadable flickered in his eyes before he caught himself.
I see.
He nodded.
Of course, if that's your will.
I know it's not ideal.
Ghalen added, stepping forward.
Truthfully, I'd trust you above any of them. But putting you front and center now might only sharpen the knives already drawn behind our backs.
Cedric inclined his head.
Spoken like a Whitmore.
I've done my best.
Ghalen said softly.
To rise above the murmurs, to honor what she built.
Cedric looked down at the table, avoiding his gaze.
You're still young, cousin. Smart. Smarter than most Whitmores, certainly. But can you really think your way out of a war?
His fingers traced a path across the edge of the map, stopping just short of the southern border.
Just be careful. Not every battle plays like a game of strategy.
Ghalen exhaled.
What did grandmother always say you must do when playing a losing game?
Cedric's lips twitched.
Go for the sunstone and pray.
He turned toward the door again, voice quieter as he added.
Let's hope the mountain is listening.